Easy E, how are we?
Shawnee, well, I'd like to think I'm better than you, but I'm probably not actually.
I think we're both in a rough way for completely different reasons. But we may as well start with you first on this one. So the last podcast we had with Kevin Nash, and that was a hugely popular podcast. A lot of tips, and I've been getting nothing but messages on the Instagram about like going a little bit back from the balloons, helping people getting PBs. A few people messaged saying that they saw a lot of people hugging loved ones, and I was guilty of it too at the top of the podcast. And they're like, oh, I must be inspired by the podcast. I like to think I was inspired by the podcast when Kevin said that. But we're getting a lot of great feedback from people taking on the tips and advice from the podcast this week. So, but my point is the podcast before that, which was only a couple of days earlier for the two of us, was you had just done Ironman, your first Ironman, 13 hours, 10 minutes. And a lot of people said, Jesus, Eric, were you lying down when you recorded that podcast the next morning? Well, I really much bursting my foot in the door. I was like, right, Eric, podcast, I have to head off for the day. Let's go. So I apologize to you in front of everyone on the podcast for that. But how are you feeling since then?
Yeah, it was a pretty busy week, so stayed on in Helsinki, and I had my mom and the in-laws with me as well, and they were in full tourist mode, and I was not a happy tourist. so,
Well,
um,
first of all, I wouldn't be a happy tourist if I thought I was in Portugal. I was in Helsinki instead, but continue.
yeah, and then after that, then Helsinki for work. So I spent 3 days in Helsinki working straight afterwards, and then got home on Saturday night. But even up until Friday night, I think I rang you. I sat in the
Mm.
lobby. So after I did the last sim flight, I was like, it was like everything just left. I was like, oh. I just rang you from the lobby. I was like, Seán, I can't get off this chair. I don't think I'm gonna do the Dublin Marathon, and I don't know what happened to me. I think by just making that decision, then everything hit me. My throat was sore. I was nosy. I was everything. I was like, oh no, I've really given up. So probably should have told myself I was doing the marathon. I would have been all right till Monday. But yeah. And then when we were landed in Dublin on Saturday night, you couldn't see anything. The rain was that heavy when we were landing, and I was like, oh my god, am I happy I'm not doing this marathon?
You made the best decision. I was at the expo on Saturday, and unfortunately couldn't stay there that long. I was not unfortunately actually, to be honest with you. I was heading across the road to Stimulus Court because there was a High Rocks event on. I knew a lot of people doing it, and it was a great atmosphere. It was a great buzz to watch that and then do a marathon afterwards. But I wasn't really thinking about it. But I do remember getting home that night, late enough, and just hearing the radio being like, "Oh, it's gonna rain till 4 in the morning. After that, it's gonna be clear skies for the rest of Sunday." And I was like, "Yeah, right. We are long overdue a rainy Irish marathon, and that's exactly what this one was."
Yeah, it was. Even as a spectator, I have to say, I was getting the train in. I was like, it's not bad, but I had a look at the weather forecast. I was looking at the weather radar, watching the rain moving across. So I was like, oh boy. So I was well wrapped up, and I was like, I knew I was under time pressure to get up to the Phoenix Park to at least get under the trees. So I was standing there in the trees, cowering away from the rain. And every time I'd see someone, I recognize someone, I'd run out and be like, yeah, and then straight back in underneath the trees. And yeah, pretty much lived my day just like that. But yeah, it was. I met a few. I suppose we're cutting to the end, but a few near hypothermic people at the end. It wasn't the warm marathon problems we've had the last couple of years.
It was the complete opposite. You viewed it from a spectator. I viewed it from going through the race. So we've got two different perspectives on this one. So with that said, we're going to hit the intro music and get straight into this week's episode of the Any Runday podcast. It's a Dublin Marathon review 2023. Let's go. So you were saying?
I kind of just don't know what to say when the end of the music kicks in. But from my perspective, I felt so sorry for people. Because I'm there, I'm not even really clapping for them because I'm hiding under the tree. There's only so much clapping you can do as the waves are passing. It was particularly early on because everyone's comfortable. What I really enjoyed is spotting the first time marathoners who are all chatting. I was like, oh, I was that person.
Too
I was
early.
that person. And they're all like giving out socks and messing with each other. I was like, oh, we'll see you at 30K. And it was great just watching them, just knowing that they're heading off on an adventure. and then it rained, and then you see the next wave, who obviously started at 9:20 or whatever, and they're after getting soaked from the start. They've probably been standing around getting rained on. You can see steam coming off people because the rain is there, and I was just like, oh my God. And then I was thinking, every time it rains, I get really bad chafe, and I was like, I really hope they all have Vaseline on, because this is going to hurt.
Yes, sir.
And that was the Phoenix Park element. And do you know what was the best part?
What's that?
I've never seen the elites, because I'm always at the back.
Oh, I've seen a couple of videos. They look insanely fast. They're sprinting.
My God. But they look like they're not moving.
Yeah.
Like, it is just poetry in motion. It is absolutely amazing. It's effortless. They're just gliding across the ground. And I'm seeing people cycling along, like some wheelers club. It could have been Bray Wheeler. I don't want to get the name wrong. But I was like, there's a cycling club that are with the lead packs, like the lead females. And I'm like, you know what? Some of them could be under pressure in the couple of minutes. I know they're on a bike. They're not going to be. But even still, I was like, that's the type of, I have to keep pedaling kind of pace, like, you know, the 20, 21 kilometers an hour that they're covering at certain points. Like, but absolutely, like, amazing to watch. And that was the best part for me. I just caught that wave coming through and how quick they were. And then watching all the elite Irish athletes coming through and looking at how comfortable they were. And then it's amazing when you see the wave. Then once you get through the 3 hour mark, just the gait of people trying to run in comparison to the guys at the front, it's just like pure hardship, grinding it out, mashing it out, arms whereas the others are just so graceful. It was like ballet for the first half hour, and then after that it was where I wanted to be. I was like, yeah, they're the marathon runners. Absolutely, I've never seen that before. Obviously, I've seen marathons in the Olympics, watching it on TV, but when you actually watch them, just glide past, it's like, wow, I will never do that.
It's mad. It's just something you kind of, because this was my 5th one doing, and I've never seen it from that perspective. And I just had that feeling going in, because I wasn't chasing the PB, and I was just like, this is just another marathon. You're getting there and it's raining. I left the house later than I ever got there. And I remember I got to the bag drop and all at like 9:20, which is very late. Usually me, yourself, and yourself are there like by 8 o'clock, and got a good 45 minutes before we start and get a warm-ups and stuff. I was just like, we'll go through the motions, see how it is. Haven't really thought it through. And then I was like, Eric's, I know he's into Phoenix Park. It's starting to rain a little bit. I knew Neve was coming in for the halfway point, and then other people said they might be there. I was like, I better jump into wave one. And that was the only reason going to wave one. And of course, you know, when you get to there, you always need to go toilet. So up to the furthest toilet, trying to get in. And I was literally about to go to the toilet, and the gun went off for wave one. I was like, well, at least I'm not getting lost in the crowds this year. So by the time I came out of the door, I was like, come on, get started. I was like, okay. Started me Strava and all there. He's like, I'll just ease into this. So I never had so much room start. Like, there was a few, it wasn't myself now. There was a few of us, but I never had so much room starting the marathon. I'm like, this is brilliant. On the streets of myself, and still a load of people there cheering. Like, this is fantastic. I'll just ease in, you know, maybe I'll go for a 5:30 pace, because I'm looking for and maybe a sub 4 was the goal at the time. And then lap 1, 4:55. I'm like, you've done it again, you idiot.
Got so excited coming out of the Jacks, couldn't slow down.
Yeah.
It was mad, because I was looking at obviously the tracker app is really good at estimating where people are going to be. And I seen you starting, and I was tracking about 30 people. And I was like, everyone else not started yet. And I was like, Seán's going for a 4 hour, like, or a 4:15. And so are all the others I'm tracking. How the hell is he already in the Phoenix Park and everyone else is still standing there? But you're held in the pens for a long, long time. It's I'd say a lot of people passed you though, did they?
Oh, I have never been passed out more in my life doing a marathon. Save for the first one, although even the first one, I can't remember what wave we were in. By the time I got near halfway, I remember actually coming through the Phoenix Park out towards Chapel Lizard, and a guy on the phone being like, this is wave 2 coming in now. And I'm like, oh, fuck. No, it's not. And since then, people took I say literally thousands of people passing me out, because I knew when I saw you in the Phoenix Park, I was having a crack with you, but I knew it was like, okay, I settled back into a 5:20, 5:25 after that 4 or 5. Sorry, kilometer 4 or 5, and I was like, right, body's feeling it. But like before this, like even as before the starting line, I was just thinking of getting back a few points to the lads afterwards, all the session, all the rest. But once that race starts, I was like, oh my God, I'm in a Dublin Marathon. And it only clicked when I was like literally that first kilometer heading up Christchurch, and you're hearing all the crowds, and it's pissing rain, and there's still the same amount of people out there, if not more this year. I genuinely thought it was a better atmosphere this year than last year. And then it just hit me. I was like, oh no, I'm in the marathon. Forget about times or PBs. Let's just get on with this. And then that field goal factor kicks in. And it's like, you know what? This is actually, it was the first time I felt it was a big deal, because the goal was gone in the PB. I knew it wasn't getting anywhere near 3:30 like I did last year. But like, I was like, I might get 4, might get 4. But you felt that kind of, it's hard to explain. There's something special about Dublin Marathon with that many people. I know everyone talked about all this other stuff before with tickets and, changing over tickets. And sidebar in that, there was absolutely no issue getting your bag fee, because once you had the sheet signed out, like I was literally in and out of the expo within 5 minutes. When I got down to standing, I was like, hey, sheet, picture of your ID, blah, blah, blah. Boom, there's his number. Eric's stuck on it. There's my number. Seán stuck on it. 5 minutes later, I was out and I was able to go across the road. Stim score. So like that was, a lot of people just had a lot of negative stuff from Dublin Marathon beforehand. Once you're in it and you see the crowds and all the rest, that just builds you up, something shocking like. But yeah, near enough halfway, I was like, okay, people are passing me out. I got to the halfway mark. I think it was 1:57. I was like, right, Seán, realistically, are you going to do less than a sub 2:03 for a half the way after you're in the first half and getting under 4? I was like, no, I'm not. So from there, it was just like, right, grind it out. But then I saw you shortly afterwards again. I did see you. You sprinted up after
Yeah,
me at
just
one
at the
stage.
half. Yeah, but I went on a little run. I had 6 layers on. I had 3 t-shirts and a jumper and a jacket and a hat and everything else on me, because I was like, I am dying. So I was like, stay warm, and a scarf. And I missed you by like 50 meters. You just turn, I could just see the whitest arms in the world turn the corner at Kilmainham. And I was like, I'm just after missing them. So he was like, I'll catch him at Crumlin. So I went on a little jog up the hill. Big mistake. I should have taken off some layers to start. I was absolutely pissed straight going up. After about 2.5K on my barely jog, I was like, oh my God, I am so glad I'm not doing this race. I made it through, ran through a park, dirty me runners and everything just to see it. I got there probably about a minute before you came up the road. I had just taken off 2 of my jumpers and had calmed down, and I could see you coming up the road.
One of the things I don't think we emphasized enough in the lead up to this was, and I'd forgotten about it, it is the importance of seeing other people during the race, because I was like, no matter how many you do, a marathon instead of marathon, you will suffer, and my God, I suffered. No matter how fast, if you're going for a PB and it's your 10, 15 one, you're going to suffer. If it's your first one, you're even walking it. It's a long time walking. You're going to suffer. But seeing familiar faces, and I was lucky enough that I had people from the gym and all the rest, and shouting your name and everything. And every time it happens, you get a boost. Like I was, little pains here and there. Like everyone goes through the marathon. And then once you hear your name and stuff and the music pumping, you're like, you do forget about it for a couple of minutes. Like it's insane how the mind just takes over, and you get that feel good factor. And then you turn the corner. Like we saw one of our friends, actually, Aaron, who was on like the very first couple of episodes of this podcast. I was coming into, I can't remember, it's Temple Oak Town, you're one of them anyway. Coming in around the corner, I just saw a sign. I was like, go Seán, like a massive sign, just go Seán. I'm like, that's pretty cool. I wish that was for me. We'll just pretend that's for me. And then underneath or above it was like, welcome to the party, pal. I'm like, Die Hard, my favorite movie. That has to be for me. And I saw Aaron there. I'm like, deadly. He just literally clotheslined him with a hug. Like, he's like, keep going. I'm like, feck the time is more important. And that gave me a huge boost to keep on going. But I will say this, because we've talked about me struggling and all the rest. I did not stop until I got to a little after mile 20. And I say this for a particular reason, because we got up to this stage, and unlike last year, like, but at the start, a few of us like, Seán, Eric, Any Given Runday podcast, all the rest. I had none of that for the first 20 miles. Like, okay, fair enough. It is what it is. Like, so I got to just after 20 miles, and there was a tray there. and it was a half a banana there, and I hate bananas. I'm like, feck it, I'm struggling. But it has to work. If anything, a
You seen
placebo.
me eating about 20 of
Yeah,
them the weekend before. You were like,
that
this
was
has to
it. I remember you taking them on the thing. I was like, feck it, I'll take one. So I had a banana. I'm like, if I start chewing this as I'm walking, as I'm running, I'm gonna choke the damn thing. So I stopped. I took a bite full. And as I took my second big bite full of banana, I just heard, Seán, Any Given Runday podcast, keep it going. I'm like, mouth full of banana. Oh, punks. Thankfully, I saw him again at the end of the race. He sent me the wrong way, Stephen. So, Stephen, shout out to you for. I got lost going to Tono's afterwards. I have to mention the podcast, whatever way it was. But yeah, he's like, I saw you in mile 20 and stuff when I passed you out. And there's a few others like, I saw you in the RDS, passed you out. Thanks for that. But it was great. And we saw Shane from Cork as well during it. And a load of people start like, not a lot, it's probably around 10 or so, like, Hugh from the podcast is like, right, I better finish this race now, keep it going. It was that extra little motivation. The rain, though, and then this is gonna sound, I don't want to sound like being hard David Goggins or whatever, but when it got heavy, you're just like, yeah, I'm in this, let's go. Had I woke up that morning and 7 o'clock getting ready and just saw that just torrential rain coming down and having to be dropped off and walking 2-3K to the start line, and there's just piss and rain, and you've only got one layer on your hat, whatever, and maybe another jacket going loose, and you're just waiting ages to start. Especially if I jumped into wave 2 and waited another 20 minutes to start, and that rain was down, I don't know if I would have turned up. I probably would have and struggled a lot more, and it just been a bad event. But when you're out in it and it's near the end and you're going through puddles and you have everyone cheering you on, you're like, you know what? This was coming. We've got lucky the last couple of years. This is a pure Irish marathon now. There's thousands cheering you on. They don't care it's raining. The umbrellas are up. They're just still so much enthusiasm. And you're out there in it. You're hurt. You've only got a couple of more Ks to go, and you're like, fuck it. Let's keep going. Take it all in. And I didn't think I would, but I did get fairly like, oh, here we go. Now, I was going 6:20 pace at this stage. My hamstrings were goose, the calves were goose. I was just, so I hadn't got enough long runs in me with everything else going on. I was like, well, this is it, me now. I'm just gonna keep, struggling out, but get there. But that really, really added to me, it added the atmosphere. Now, you as a spectator standing on the sideline might have a completely different perspective on that and just freezing. But to me, it really added to it.
No, for me, I was with Neve, and we were in what's the name of it, by the fire brigade station. Anyway, just across from the canal. It's completely slipped my mind the name of the place. It'll come back to me now in a minute. And we were standing under the Dublin Bar. And but Neve was like, I'm going into the shop. Do you want that? And I was kind of like, I kind of just want to stand here and cheer at people. I was having so much fun, and I seen so many people in that stretch at that halfway point after I saw you, because obviously you were the tail end of wave 1. So as I was walking to Dublin's Barn, I was seeing people from college I haven't seen in a long time. I was seeing people I went to school with, and they were like, oh, well done in the Ironman. As they're halfway through a marathon, I'm like, don't worry about me. And it was amazing. So by the end, I was racking up, like Louise Gormley, I seen, we used to work together years and years ago, and she was like, oh yeah, and she ran a great race. And then I was like, oh my God. So by the time I started out following about 15 people. By the time I walked the kilometer back down to Dolphin's Barn, he was like, many people you're following? I've 45 people to see how they finish. It was unbelievable. I've seen so many people, and I was roaring all sorts of abuse at some of them, and it was just great to be a part of that day for them as well. And my cousin Francis listens as well, had a great run, and seeing him coming along. And I missed Louise Doran. I missed Ozzy Doyle. Ozzy Doyle was hiding somewhere. He didn't want to be seen. I couldn't see him. I couldn't see him. I tried and tried and tried. I just couldn't find him.
That's because he showed us up a couple of years ago when you ran him a fair bit, and then like he had to keep on going, and you had to go back and stretch your hamstrings, and he had a hell of a time that year. But it's mad, the ups and downs. Like you don't get a better PB each and every year. It's like keep coming at it, and that's the great thing about it. That every year, every marathon is different and means something different each time.
Yeah, it definitely does, and I suppose for us, the nice part about the finish for us is I was like, I'm not going to watch on in that rain.
Yeah.
I was like, I'll get the table.
That's what I was like, oh, Eric, you go to the table. And people had a hard time getting in afterwards. It's like, how'd you get in, Seán? Like, I was like, I wasn't that fast. I had a seat reserved for me there, like, and it was great. But I still seen then a lane at the end, so I still had someone on the finish line. And then knowing that someone was keeping a seat for me when I got to the pub, instead of going, where am I going to sit in afterwards? And then just having the crack afterwards was class. But like, there's been a lot of negative stuff online with Martin, and yeah, it's without its faults. And I know you're at the end, and people are like, oh, like some people did said they got hyperthermic, going around and trying to get the bag and stuff. But like, what other, like, with that amount of people going through, you kind of have to do the lap around to get back out of there. And your bag drop is there. Put another black bag into it, and put your jackets and stuff, change your clothes in there. Like it sounds harsh, but I think that's a little bit on you on that one. Like, there's only so much. I know it's a lonely walk. It is a long, lonely walk, but I'm not going to criticize it because I don't know the best way to do it, because there's so many people in each side of the street. You can't come back on that street at the end of it, I don't think, anyway. So the safest way is probably do that block around, especially the tents and all there, and trying to get your bags and stuff afterwards. Maybe there is a better way. Maybe someone listening going, Seán, in Berlin they do this, in London you do this, you haven't a clue what you're talking about. But there's a lot of volunteers out there in that day, and they put everything into it, and there's a lot in the expo 2-3 days. And I know there's like the medal was whatever, the medal had a wrong spelling in the back of it and all that kind of crack. But at the end of the day, like, I don't even know where the medal is right now. To me, it's whatever. It's the event, and I know it sounds corny and cliche, but the event and the people and all the rest around it, that to me is I'll always remember.
And I think your experience at the end. Now, I met one of our listeners as well coming up. We met him in Cork. I was shoving fried chicken into my mouth, and I was walking past him, and again he was like, Eric, podcast. And I mean, rattling. I was like, yeah, man, go home. But it did a great run, 3:07, absolutely amazing work, brilliant, and like that's what it's all about. That's the fun I get out of it. But that feeling at the end depends on the day you've had. When we go back to our first marathon, had it rained on us that day, and I had to walk for my bag, I think I probably would have killed someone. Do you know, like it depends on it depends on the day you've had.
But that was our fault though.
Yeah, and
it had a rain that day and all the rest, and we're walking ages afterwards. That's not anyone else. That's our fault for not training hard enough for
it. And to the testament of your, I think what I've learned from Ironman, like people say it's a bag drop. You're dropping a bag, and Ironman call it your street clothes drop, and they give you a checklist to put in a towel, to put in this, put in that, warm clothes. So like me, as my first time, I was like, oh, warm clothes, make sure it could be anything. I'm going to be gone. It's going to be dark. So mentally, I'm like, it's going to be nighttime by the time I finish. So I am going to be cold, like it's. So even I wasn't expecting the rain. I didn't even know it was going to rain that day. It started out sunny. But I think for people, when you think you're finishing at 1-2 o'clock, you're like, I'll be grand. You need to be just stripping out of everything, even if it is a warm day as well. Salt, everything else. Like I even put baby wipes into my bag just to wipe some of the salt off my face on the warmer days as well. But people will have learned their lesson. And you treat that bag drop to be a full new person when you come out the other side. Have your sliders in it, and have your comfort. Like go to the pub and flip-flops. Do what you've just ran 42.2. Just enjoy it.
You got a bit of abuse for your Birkenstocks actually on the day of because before the start of the Ironman, there's a picture of me and you, and you got your Birkenstock sandals on you. I don't even know that name because they're like, here, what's he doing with his Jesus sandals? So the floor is yours to not promote them because we're not being sponsored by it, But to state your case on why you're wearing Jesus sandals before the start of an Ironman, were you looking for divine intervention to get you through the Ironman, a bit of luck, or why are you wearing these sandals?
Well, I tell you what, I didn't walk in the fucking water anyway. That's for sure. I'm a flip-flop man, and I wore flip-flops in Rome and ended up doing a 10K in flip-flops, and my ankles, everything were goose athletes. So I actually just looked for something with a little bit more support in them, and I was very against them because, like you, I was like, Jesus, sandals, and Kate was like, you're gonna wear them. What color do you want? And I was like, brown. so they arrived. I put them on, and I was like, oh boy,
Yeah,
these are brilliant. Yeah. Now look, never wear them with socks. Don't be that person. But absolutely, I'm telling you, my world has changed. I'm buying 2 more pairs for moving to the Middle East as well. I'm never going to be out of them. They're absolutely amazing.
The amount of people listening to the podcast at the marathon, like, Eric, I'm missing 2.5 toenails. The other ones are black. I can't be going around wearing sandals in November right now, but maybe after.
That's the exact reason, though. It's like you finish your race, don't be putting back on shoes. Get your Birkenbirks on, slip them on, good grip, good arch support, and go for your points. Like, it's unbelievable. But no, it is part of that. Like, and that bag is the start of your recovery, and that's something we've learned as well. Like, although we say we're going for points, we have isotonics in the bag.
Yeah,
we've got that little of something that's just nice. That's not the full sugar. You know, it's something that you're familiar with. For me, it's ice cream. I always wanted ice cream after one. Yeah, it's just a weird one. So, but again, like, I was very much of the opinion coming up to that marathon. I was even annoyed at some of the email responses I was getting in terms of I can't collect my ticket, and you know, and it was just like, oh, do you know what? The fun marathon is starting to become not fun, and the friendly marathon is not.
Yeah, obviously they want as many people there in the expo as you can. Had they just sent you that PDF for the thing you got signed and sent on to me, get printed off, they're like, look, there's the way to get your ticket. If you can't get a ticket, someone has to collect you, but they need this, this, and this, the checklist there, the ID and all the rest. That was down. Now, I know a lot of people had problems with it Friday evening because, like, the first 5 tables, so they had like 20 odd tables, whatever it was in the expo, and the first 5 was the only ones that dealt with getting someone else's ticket. So I just went up 1 to 5 and was like, I need to get this person's ticket on my own. And it was just easy because it was early enough in the morning when I went there. By saying peak times, probably those lines were a lot longer, and that could be where the issue was with some people. Also, going back to change the clothes, stuff like that. The caveat is it's very easy for me and you to say that, but for a female trying to get changed out in the middle of the streets, or because if people are getting changed like by the houses and stuff beside it, probably not as easy for a girl as it is for a guy to do that. So I know, like, even when I got the pub, I was like, here, wet top, take it off, don't care, throw on towel quick, throw on top, and obviously everything else I went to the back so you can get changed. But like, it's a lot better for a guy, not better, but you know what I mean.
Yeah, it's a lot more flexible. That's why I always throw a beach towel in, because you can maintain a little bit of privacy, a little bit, as if you're at the beach. Just that bigger towel gives you that little bit more coverage.
The piss and rain's gonna be fun though.
yeah, it's got to be interesting. But the game in the game and there is always get warm, get out of wet clothes as quickly as possible. And that's when you end up feeling it, and because your body is tired, and that shivering can get bad. Like, even on a warm day, I do feel quite cold after a marathon just because of the exertion. Never mind with the cold rain as well.
I need to get a hoodie.
I didn't know. Did you notice over the last few K less people on the floor because of the rain?
Yes.
Yeah.
I got to the 24K mark, and I was probably at there because I think I did wave 2 last year, so I was at the same spot roughly around it, because the 330 balloon was past me, maybe 340, so roughly the same time as last year. Not as many people now. Obviously, people stopping and stretching out, which is normal for a marathon, but nowhere near the carnage in the war zone that it was the year before, where like every second person was down. There's a few people, you're like, come on, you're nearly there, keep it going, that kind of thing, but nowhere near as much. It actually, the atmosphere felt a lot better, and what I was struggling just as much this year as it was last year, but I wasn't against the clock, so I enjoyed it a bit more, and even the crowds and stuff there was just as much there as it was last year. So I really got into that near the end. I was just like clapping and cheering myself and just like, this is, it takes over. It's class. The big screen thing near the end is class. They've done it well. Like if you are doing your first marathon, ignore all those negatives. There's a lot to be prepared about, but once you are, you can't recommend a better marathon in this country than Dublin. And I'd say I can't speak for the bigger ones, your Londons, your Berlins, and obviously, you know, Boston, New York, and all the rest, or even some of the abroad ones. I'm sure they're pretty cool to do. And like yourself last week doing Portugal, that kind of experience is really cool as well, going abroad and, you know, making a bit of a mini holiday and stuff out of it. But if you're going to do a marathon, there's something special. I truly believe that about Dublin Marathon, that it is really, if you're a runner at all, even if you're listening to this going, you only do 10Ks, not only, but you know what I mean, 10Ks or maybe a 10 miles at most, or even a 5K now. I think anyone with enough training can do a marathon. I think it's just, it is, forget about times, it's literally consistency to find your way out the door and slowly build it up from there. And I know the training can be long, 8-10 hours a week, but if you slowly build that up over 20, 24, you know, maybe 28, 32 weeks, it is possible to slowly build it up and get away with not doing 12, 14-hour week training. Like it is possible to do it. Yeah, I just can't recommend it enough. Like it's one of those where before this one, I was trying not to be arrogant about it, but had you talked to me week leading up to it, I genuinely hadn't thought about it. People are like, oh, it's going to be, you know, a good day Sunday. I'm like, it'll rain. I genuinely was like, it's going to rain. I don't care. It just will. I hadn't thought about it, and I was keeping busy with other things. But then once that race started, well, I was in the Jacks, but once I got past that and started the race, it was like, you know what, there is something about Dublin. So as soon as that text comes in the next couple of days, like, here, your 40 hours sign up, I'm in. And it's a yearly thing for me. I said that last year. I forgot about it. I was just reminded how special this event really is, just because of all the negative stuff that's coming in, that it's just a hell of an event. And I wish people could just experience to have that many people cheering you on, especially people you don't know, people you haven't seen, and like you said there, you haven't seen in years, just cheer, hey Eric, and just like, oh, you know, fair play in the Ironman, or like even last year when you're running, like, oh Eric, keep on going, and you're like, oh, that's someone from school, like I don't remember that person, or that's someone from this job I used to be in, and you remember that, and like, when do you ever connect with all these people except when they're pushing you on in this kind of event? It's just, it's so cool, man. It's so cool.
It's absolutely brilliant. It's the weird part for me was people in the marathon were shouting at me on the sideline. I was like, we really need to stop doing this podcast. But it's no, it was so good, and I hope we did give people a couple of people have sent very, very kind messages and thanking us for getting them through the marathon. And I just want to say, we didn't get you through the marathon. No. Your family did, your dedication did, your hard work did. And it does take a certain level of grit and a certain level of a person that's willing to go. And there's a reason why people will laugh at you for doing a marathon and, oh, you're talking about your marathon again, because there are people that won't go through it. And you've done that yourself. You fought your own battles, and you did it with everyone runs a marathon for a reason. And whatever your reason was, we hope we gave you some nuggets along the way, and we didn't get you through it, and we're just happy for all the people that did their first. We're delighted to have the likes of Kevin on, and all the people he has got through that marathon, and PBs. You know, there's just such a good cohort of people that are involved in this, and we're so happy that this podcast is doing so well and encouraging people to get out, and that's why we do it, and that's what we hope. We just, something we will give to someone they might remember at mile 24 and go, this is what they were on about. And okay, I'm not the only one to have gone through this, unless you've shit yourself, then, you know, you're probably on your own. But it's but look, just a really, really special well done. We're so grateful to everyone who listens to us, but we're more grateful to everyone who took part, and everyone who shouts us, and everyone who gets involved in the community of it, and what it means to run a marathon. And it is by no small feat. And as me and you said, Seán, like, going around a marathon for us now is a case of, yeah, we'll get around. We know we can get around. The time is just something that happens. But it's always far more impressive to see someone go for a PB or someone to do their first ever. Definitely the first ever is a big one for me. And some people ran phenomenal first evers, absolutely phenomenal. And it's really special, and I really enjoy it. And that's why I show up every Sunday to chat shit to you about running in the hopes that someone out there, and we can help keep this good community and this good vibe, and all the negativity is there. And look, I'm negative myself. I'm still giving out about my pajamas I got last week, but it's for the better purpose of why we do it. It's the lifestyle you build. And I really hope everyone the next day will swear they will never do another one. And I think Dublin Marathon know that. So about 4 or 5 days later, they're like, bing, next year's Dublin City Marathon. And you just start to get the rose tinted glasses on. You're like, you know what? That was really good.
That's it. Like I can imagine, like, you go back to your Ironman. Had we done that podcast episode we did it on a Sunday morning, like less than 12 hours we finished. Had we done that on a Tuesday or Wednesday, that's probably a different episode completely.
I sold me bike on the Sunday. I was buying it back on the Wednesday.
You're like, here we go again. For people interested, Eric has not got his I collected his number. He has not got his goodie bag. He's not gone through it yet, so he won't give out with the color of the hat or anything like that just yet.
I've seen the purple. You can keep it.
No,
the most expensive hat and porridge I've ever bought in my life. You know, and that was bought on the back of Dublin being so special. I couldn't say no to having the ticket. Obviously, the Ironman was on the cards. I didn't know it was going to be Portugal. I thought it could have been something else. So the fact it came the week before, but forget about the Ironman. That's already a week in the past. This is all about everyone who's done a phenomenal job and their supporters. And that was miserable. It was miserable for supporters, but to still go out and cheer everyone and try and squint and see what name is that? Go on, Eamon! You know, like just screaming at people. Like it's just so much fun for everyone involved, for everyone who stood out in the rain, for, you know, just appreciate all the people that give things. One thing I think people etiquette about throwing bottles across people. I seen one lady go sideways on a bottle, and it was just an ankle twister, and like instant panic. And we had a little chat, me and her, and I was like, look, relax, you know, helped her limp off and take a minute. And that was just at the halfway. And I was like, look, just start walking with me. I have a phone, money, whatever you need, we can get you anywhere. You know, you seem to be moving a bit freer, right? Just off you go in the end, and just that little bit of a chat. But I was seeing people skimming bottles across the ground in front of people. I was like, oh my God.
Twice I literally almost slipped on a feckin' banana peel, like on the track. I'm not even exaggeration. Twice I was like, whoa. And I found I saw one person trying to go and grab it before I ran by there. I literally, because I wasn't going for pee, I literally stopped and just kicked the thing and went about my way. I was like, don't worry about it. Don't think it was the supporter who dropped it. But that skimming the bottles, like once you pass that aid station, because just something about littering, I don't know if it's just instilled in me when I was younger, I just hate. So like, even I was going around with the, you know, they give you like a Luke saying the cup, and I had the cup. Like, it was probably pictures of me, and I'm running 2-3K, and I had a cup in my hand looking for a bin just to throw it in. And I see all the bottles in the ground. I'm like, why am I just throwing the ground and everything else? I just can't. Maybe there should be more bins a little bit further from the aid station stacked up, because like we talked in the podcast last week, you know, you want to kind of sip that water for a little bit and then throw it in the bin and have them all stacked up. I know they have the bullseyes, have them just like out to the side, but people are missing them. Like an empty bottle in that rain is not going to go straight where you want it to go. You know, it's not like a stone or a football. You're just throwing it at the spot and back out again. But skimming across, the gels were a little bit of an issue. Like that Lucas Aid station there, where the Lucas Aid gel station before Heartbreak Hill, like that was just as slippy, as sticky, and I can only imagine what it was later on. And you know, but that's I don't know the answers to that, so I don't want to.
I am for me. I think with marathons, when you see the elites go by, they literally just pick up a cup, boof, and it's gone. And that's why the bins are always pretty much immediately afterwards. But then for your second waves, you need to put something 500 meters up the road. You need to put something a K up the road and say, this is the littering zone, end of the littering zone. Use the bin, you know, like really highlight that to people. But yeah, like we encourage people to hold on to a bottle. But in fairness, like when you're holding it for a K, you're like, where am I going to put this? And then when you're
Yep.
tired, you're like, oh, see this bottle. And I can understand it. I've been there.
Yep.
I have done it, but I place it on the side of the road. But it's just something I really noticed as a spectator. It's just like, my God, like someone threw a Lucozade bottle at me on the side. I was like, only they were running the marathon, I would have picked it up and bounced it off their head. And they straight away were like, oh my God, I'm so sorry. I was like, you're halfway through. I'm fresh.
Yeah, I will catch you. Like, you run a marathon, it's an incredible achievement. I just don't think it deserves fucking a bottle at someone there in the piss and rain to support you. I don't see the
750 mils Lucozade coming at me, hiding behind the post box. Jesus.
One sip. Maybe they knew you.
Whole thing. I was like, but look, it's just a little thing that I just noticed a bit more this year because I wasn't in it, and it was just something just for everyone. And those who do this, and the next time around, try and encourage people to just be a bit smarter, because people did get injured from bottles being skimmed across in front of them, which is sad to see. It was sad to see, and that's the only reason I make the point, is because it was skimmed, and I seen someone go under their feet, and they did suffer because of it.
All your training leading up to it, and it's ruined because someone threw a water bottle at you in the race. You know, it's that stuff like that that's out of your control that happens. Oh, that's heartbreaking as hell. Like,
but look, to pick yourself back up and get that done, that's part of it as well. And it's part of that stubbornness and part of everything you want. But it's a great race. It is a great race. It's a phenomenal atmosphere. Okay, there was a bit of rain, but that adds to the challenge. When people look back on that and go, I missed out my PB by a minute, it's like, yeah, but
you overcame another obstacle.
Yeah, you had all that rain, you had soggy feet, you this, you that, you had everything else, you know, like it's not the same as when it's a nice warm overcast day in October, you know, like you're gliding a bit more, you're a little bit happier because you're warmer, you know. So but what a day, what an amazing thing, and I really hope people keep it up. And as we spoke about last week, I think a really, really important point to remember is you're not done.
No.
This weekend, start getting out gently, build up the miles. 3 days next week, be consistent. Don't go big, just be consistent. 20-30 minutes, focus on recovery. You know what I'm a big fan of, and that's the yoga on the off days. And I would pick a goal for over the Christmas, be it a countdown to Christmas or whatever it is. We spoke about it last week, we spoke about it with Kev. You are at a level, you are at an excellent level. Don't get to January like I always do and start again. Take advantage of it. See what's required to just maintain a consistent level so that you can enjoy your Christmas, still keep training. And that's like this stage now up until January is a great foundation, because you are starting January at where you finished your marathon season now. So then with a consistent block or two for an early marathon, you might consider doing Westport Marathon in April. You might look at some mid-seasons. You might look at traveling abroad. You are ready for a 16-week block. And then all of a sudden you're 4 hours like, I reckon I can do a 3:45. Yeah. I reckon I can do a 3:30. And you're constantly building on the fitness you've got now. So just take that into consideration. Some people will never put on a pair of shoes again. They're like, no, that's me done. And that's it. But I would encourage you to find something else. You've worked so hard to be in this shape of endurance. You know, like for me, the endurance is there. I probably don't look fantastic, but the endurance is there. And it would be a shame for me to just go, right, I'm not doing that now till January. So once we get there and settle back in and get over this little bit of a cold, we'll be back. We'll be back. We'll be back on the bike. We'll be back swimming, definitely swimming, just to get in and shake it out and just keep building for January and then set goals. It's a lot easier to set goals when you're coming at it in a better position of fitness than it is then to go, I'll start training in March and then I'll try and break the 3.5 hour margin, because you won't. You're just going to do the same thing you did this year. So you need to develop on this and just keep yourself consistency. And that is the king. Get through the Christmas period and you can enjoy it. Some people get to run in before the dinner, you know, just find ways to add in little levels of something.
it doesn't have to be a whole lot to stay consistent and keep that maintained fitness for the next couple of months. But as someone who had a woeful summer of running, there's nothing as demoralizing as knowing you're at one standard and then 2 months not running, and all of a sudden you go out for a run and your standard just drops and your pace is down by a minute, 2 minutes, and you're up in the high heart rate. You're like, oh, we have to do this all over again to build it back up again. And that can knock people for six and be like, you know what, I am done with this crap because you lose. And we talked to people on the Sunday that had insane marathon times before and dropped back a fair bit. Like I was 41 minutes slower this time than I was last year. Like it happens. Sometimes injuries and stuff happen, but if you can just add a little bit of consistency now to your running, doesn't have to be extreme mileage you had before, and build that base, maybe a couple of 5Ks or like a park run 5K or a Santa run or a local 10K that might be coming up. And then New Year, like you said, set your goals. It's phenomenal. The marathons never get easier, but what I do think gets easier is the time you're out there, and you're out there for like another 2 hours running. That doesn't feel like what it felt like when we did our first marathon, because that felt like forever running for 2 hours. Whereas the more you do, mentally it gets easier. So in a way, Sundays was the easiest because mentally it was. Physically still tough, but I knew, okay, you're in the slog, you're in the hurt locker for the next hour and a half. A load of people are passing you by, but hey, you haven't put in the work, so you just have to deal with this, smile, get through it. You're still doing a freaking marathon, and that's class. And I'm still getting the medal as all these feckers. I might get it a few minutes later than them, but I'm getting the medal, and I have a seat saved for me to pub afterwards. So who's the real winner? Who's the real winner?
Yeah, but it's no, it is good, and hopefully people do take something from it. And whatever it was for you, I hope you found it. You definitely, if you didn't find it, you definitely didn't have a hard enough day. And it is one where you learn a hell of a lot about yourself, and you soon learn when you cross that halfway point that the smiles and the jokes start to disappear and people get very serious and stuff, and you will remember all these little moments. You'll remember little moments for yourself, and you'll remember the course for the next time, because anyone who's done it is definitely going to sign up again. They will work their way into doing another Dublin Marathon, and it is brilliant. Luckily, I am not under that pressure. I will not be doing the Dublin Marathon for the next 2 years at least. So I'm kind of glad to be out of the pressure of doing it. I'm not going to lie. It's nice to not have to I'm going to get the text, but I'm going to be like, no, you're all right. And then I'll be back trying to get into the lottery again. But it's nice for me to not be under the pressure of feeling the FOMO of not doing Dublin. And that's what it turns into. That's genuinely what it turns into. Even though I was like, I have no right to participate in this race today, still watching people going, I could have kept up with him. I could have kept up. It's no way to think of it, but it does. It's hard to be on the sidelines. It's such a great race.
Yeah, 100%. And with that said, I think we'll wrap up this episode of the Any Given Runday podcast. Unless you got anything else to add, and you clearly do not the way you looked at me there. So that is it from myself and Eric. I am going to get some much needed sleep before we begin the week all over again in the morning. Thank you very much for listening. As I always do, that's it from the two of us. Take care.
Bye.